one total mesorectal excision and one right hemicolectomy today. It went very well, actually. I just wonder if anyone else would like to know any questions from the audience to the Amjad or Alexei and Mladen. I just would like to start asking by Amjad, how can we build up a training program, for example, either in Turkey or in Serbia, to increase the amount of minimally invasive surgery in countries like my country and like Serbia, or in another country in Balkans? Do you have a practical solution? Because there are so many surgeons, they all want to start, but how shall we proceed? What is the best way to do it?
It's a difficult question, and England was in some ways lucky, because in England the government decided to put a lot of money into the training program, which usually doesn't happen in any part of Europe. For example, most part of the Europe is the industry who's always have helped surgeons learn through courses, through doing things. So England was a bit anomaly. So realistically, if you look at how the program would work, I think it would only work if you have what I call hub and spoke model. So instead of you sort of saying, how can we train 26 district surgeons or 26 district units, you just say it is practically not possible to do that. You concentrate on maybe 3 or 4 centers as regional centers within the country, and help 2 surgeons from each center to learn laparoscopy to the level where they become expert. So they can become almost like a trainers. So they can train their districts. I think that's the practical solution. I think Russia adopted that technique, I think 3-4 years ago. St. Petersburg have got 2 centers which came up to the level where these guys are running courses. Now Moscow is another place where they had 2 or 3 centers, and Ufa is another place in the other part of Russia. So the likelihood is, with my own limited experience of going and talking to people in different countries, that the government is never interested from the beginning. You know, they would always tell you to fill this form, come to this meeting, and it won't work if you rely on the government. So the important thing is perhaps to talk to the industry and say, okay, we want to develop a program. We would have 4 people or 5 people who would want them to come to a level where they can train our own people. I think that's the more practical solution. So the pathway which you could use is very simple. It's been published, it's been evidence-based, how people learn, how you measure your learning, if it's a successful program or not. We know all this in the past anyway. So I think that's the practical solution in my view.
That's great. I mean, what about Russia? I mean, you had already gone through. What is your opinion? What is your suggestion to us, for example, for my country and to Serbia?
I will try to, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I will try to talk about our way in my lecture, because
all right. So you are going to give, all right.
I prepared a special talk about this, because always start from enthusiasts, unfortunately. There are no special education program in Russia.
Right. Do you have any suggestion regarding how Serbia has to take place in this training program? What is the lessons you got so far?
I think it's necessary. I'm very, very happy that Professor Krivokapic is here. We already talked with him, and also Professor Kecmanovic, his team is here also. It's our 2 leading teams in colorectal surgery in our country, and I think in situation like it's in our country, it's necessary to involve them. I know that they are doing a lot of very difficult open colorectal cases every day. They are very busy, because all difficult cases from all over the country coming in their center as a tertiary surgical center. But it's necessary to make them interested in giving chance to start their program. In the case that Zoran decide that program will start in our country, after that everything will be much more easier. There are some surgeons in our country with quite big experience in laparoscopic colorectal surgery, like Jordan Lazarević in Valjevo and Goran Ivić in Sremska Mitrovica. They are doing laparoscopic surgery for almost 10 years in colorectal, and Jordan helps me in my first case, and I am very thankful. But for our country, it's necessary to make the centers in Belgrade, Novi Sad, and I'll be very happy if I can participate as one of small center, because it's not always necessary that everything have to be in a capital like in London. Sometimes even in Basingstoke it's possible to make a center for some kind of surgery, or like in St. Petersburg should be the best laparoscopic surgeon. It's not necessary to be in Moscow. So, but I think in our country it's necessary to involve our leading teachers in colorectal surgery if we want really to implement that kind of program. So I suggest also to Professor Amjad, because we yesterday we saw from his talk how huge experience he has in teaching people in laparoscopic surgery, and we saw what number of cases we need to be on the level to start to do colorectal that type in modular training. We needed at least around 20-25 cases, what is not too much. Everybody who has experience in open colorectal surgery can learn, especially if you have a teacher. Yesterday I said that after many years of visiting professors and teachers all over the world, I really travel a lot, and I was very lucky to meet a lot of very famous surgeons and excellent surgeon. But difference between professor and excellent surgeon is that professor has to be excellent surgeon, but that is not enough. To be a professor, you have to be will and happy, and you want to learn, really learn in the way how Amjad learning people. So for me, it's an example of real professor. And in that case, everything else will be much more easier. We will easily find a way how to make a national program for, and I think it's possible in Serbia, even we are not very rich.
Maybe we should ask Zoran.
Yeah, Zoran.
He's a main surgeon here.
Yeah.
What's his view?
Thank you very much for coming, actually. That is the first. Okay, I agree with Mladen, and we are doing in several centers laparoscopically some cases, and I said to you that we have in hands actually open surgery. Also we can do laparoscopically, but we have not equipment for that nowadays, and also we have not time, and we discuss about that. If we find some time, because our experience is actually 6 to 10
Yes.
cases per day colorectal. That is not case in Portsmouth, in London, in St. Mark's. They doing one rectal cancer per week. And if you compare with 7 to 10 per day, it's not so easy.
Yeah.
Especially we have also difficult cases, not early cancer, and we will see in future. But in several centers in Serbia, we are doing laparoscopically, and I agree with Mladen. In future, we are going to make some progress, I'm sure.
Would you please also comment on what Mladen says?
Yes, I agree everything they said.
Right, okay. Are there any questions or any feedback, comments on this topic or any other topics that you see two excellent operation from the experts? I mean, went very well, and any questions from the audience?
Operations, difficult cases, very difficult cases, but very good operations, and very good surgeons and teachers.
Yes, indeed. I just would like to comment what Zoran said. I mean, I agree from the beginning that open surgery is a little bit practical to start with, but just let's go back 20 years. I mean, just think about laparoscopic cholecystectomy. From the start on, laparoscopic cholecystectomy takes long, sometimes longer than the open one. But now, just think about it. It is just half an hour if it's not complicated. But in order to open cholecystectomy, you have to open and close. It will take more than half an hour. And I'm sure if we ask the experts, when do the open times, maybe he may get, I mean, difficult to remember that
Yeah,
time
no.
period. But I mean, at the beginning, maybe the time
Yes.
limits are
Yes.
too much. But when you do,
Yeah, I think it's the same old argument. The important thing here is to realize that laparoscopy is another tool of doing the operation. You know, people sort of think black and white. They think once I become laparoscopic surgeon, I would never do open. And open surgeons sit in the camp saying, I'm never going to do laparoscopy because I can do it faster, better. It's always the marriage of the two. The solution always is in the middle. A perfect example is Professor Zoran Clinic, for example. If they're doing locally advanced tumor perhaps are not for laparoscopy because they have time pressure, resource pressure. But equally, you know, we discussed this, equally they could take a view that, okay, if we get amongst 600 cases that we do, there must be 100 cases who are suitable for laparoscopy. And I'm going to delegate one or two of my guys because I have to do complex work. I'm going to delegate them to learn and to do it. Because that is really, in my mind, investment for future of the unit. You know, people work, people leave. You know, their legacy go with them, their work go with them. What stays behind is how you leave the unit. And I think that's what good leaders do, you know, in a sense that they say, okay, I haven't got time to do all this, but I can find people to do it. And we are right now at the same stage where the debate really is around laparoscopy and open. I think the debate should be about good anatomical surgery, whichever way you can do it. You know, if you bring the unit up to the speed who can do laparoscopy, for example, there are units who do 3 or 4 cancer resection in the same op list laparoscopically because they are used to doing it backwards and forward. They run 2 parallel theatre, they can do them. So I would be very open-minded, that's what I would say, because I live in the time in 1990s working with people who were taking 6 hours, 8 hours to do lap sigmoid, straightforward lap sigmoid. But now the same guys who work in St. Mark's, Robin, I worked with him as a registrar 1998, 99, they would tell you that they could do the sigmoid colectomy an hour and a half without trying to do it fast. So time never become an issue long term.
thanks. Okay, if there is no question, we will move forward to the lectures. So we have 3 lectures.
Yeah, I think you'll start because you have to catch a plane.
Please.